So, why was the snake in the boot? So he could smell his soul. Ah, Jesus, Clint. I told that joke to a coworker yesterday. And the worst thing someone could tell you or respond to a really terrible joke is actually laugh and smile at it. Because then the rest of the world has to hear it. Because all around the world, we just want to be loved. And in that moment, I felt like an abandoned child in the Grinch. You know, you remember the beginning where the Grinch was just in a little baby carrier floating from the sky. Which, by the way, that's kind of I understand it's a fictional like fantasy type of movie, but it's supposed to be real sentimental. And I understand it's just supposed to symbolize like someone just dropping their kid. Like the kid is like this living thing is just floating in a picnic basket. You know, the Grinch is literally like a little green pea. Not just because he's the color green, but because Nicki Minaj and Drake and Lil Wayne were seeing green. Jesus, all my sons. And apparently the Grinch was just a son to someone. Oh, Lucy Lou. But yeah, welcome to episode 151 of the Off and Beat podcast. I'm your host, Clint Nelson. Don't forget to like, follow, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell on all the podcast apps. But most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, suck some titties. I don't know why somehow that joke turned into a Grinch. There's nothing about the Grinch that's snake. Except snakes can be green. I remember hearing that thing growing up. There's those dumbass mythology. Those dumbass myths that say, oh, garden snakes. I think they're called garden snakes. They're like, they don't bite. They're not venomous. It's like, first of all snakes can fucking bite. They have teeth. Maybe not all of them are technically poisonous, but it's not like you get bit by a snake and it's just like a slap on the wrist. Like, you're going to feel a little lightheaded. They're putting some in you. It's like a placebo effect. Some people, if you get bitten by a snake, even if the actual venom and shit doesn't actually do anything, if it's on your head and you got people, whatever the term is for people that are afraid of snake, I don't know, snakeophobia. I know there's an actual name to it where people are like, oh my God. I think for like spiders, it's like arachnophobia. It's kind of weird at Six Flags, they have a ride called arachnophobia. Maybe that's why it is. Like, now I think about arachnophobia. It's like it's circular. And, you know, it's not open half the fucking time. But it's the thought that counts. And the thought of paying $40 to go and it's not open for 80% of the day, but it's cool. But yeah, I guess his arachnophobia is the fear of spiders. But whatever it is for snakes, if someone has that type of fear for snakes and they get bitten by a snake, everything is mental. So you're going to react to it like you were bitten by like a king cobra. Cobra Kai, baby. Except you should have chopped it at the block like Rambo. Jesus. And now I'm Rambo-ling. Somehow tied together. Sylvester Stallone is still fucking jacked, by the way. That dude is legitimately, I was so surprised. He is like 78 or he's 82 years old one day. I looked it up because I was watching a Sylvester Stallone movie, like one from the 80s or 90s, I should say. I watched this movie Cliffhanger, where he's legitimately, where basically he's like this, his job is to basically keep people who do high escapades like on mountains and zip lining and stuff safe and stuff. Like, he's basically like a tour. He's supposed to save people when they get themselves in bad situations. Something happened at the beginning where basically a friend of his lost a life because he couldn't hold on to them. He said he basically Mufasa'd it, except not on purpose. She just had a weak grip, I guess. And he basically goes through the traumatic aspect of blah, blah, blah. And then near the end, he has to force himself back out there to save and stop something major from happening. Not to give it away, but it is a cliffhanger. And then watch that movie. And then to watch this Rambo movie from like Rambo 2 from 2019. I'm like, dude, get a hobby. This dude is legitimately like the actor version of. I know Arnold Schwarzenegger was in movies, but he was a Mr. Olympia first, and that's kind of how he got big. No pun intended. And he's still jacked as fuck. But when you think about Sylvester Stallone, he actually started just like being. He wrote like he was pure like the actor form. Like that's actually he got into acting because that's actually like what he aspired to do per se. Like, he didn't have a passion for weightlifting and then got jacked as fucking and got his first movie role. He literally created his own movie role in Rocky. And even though, first couple... Actually, it's weird that people actually say the first Rocky and the second Rocky are the best ones, but the rest suck. It's like, actually, I kind of like the later ones, but cool. Even though they're all kind of the same at a certain point. Like, I understand they're different, but they're all really the same. But... To see he created a role for himself and literally embodied the character he wanted. Because one of the big sticking points was the reasons why. Because he could have sold Rocky for like, I think at the time, like $100,000. Some low price. One that seems high to the masses, but in the field of it, even then it was low. And he turned down all these because they wanted to pay him, but they didn't want him to play Rocky. So he ended up finding, I forgot who did it or whatever. And part of the deal was he got to play Rocky. And that's how we know him as Rocky. And he wrote the screenplay and everything. And so, yeah. Kind of like a Balboa. A boa snake. Get it? Okay. But yeah. Like a blade of grass. One sunlight. I just want that ass. You type of girl that I flirted with in class. You can't even get gas without being harassed. I wonder when Jack Harlow says you can't even get gas without being harassed. I wonder if he's literally talking about going to the gas station and paying $4.48 for a gallon of gas. Because let me tell you, no one's harassing you when you're paying $4.48 because it's already like a depressing state. Like it's like, damn, she can do all bad all by herself. Okay, Clint. Or does he actually mean when she goes and gets, the other type of gas? The dealer, does he harass her for, advances? And I'm not talking about the Western Union go to the can I get $100 advancement type of advancement. That's the problem. Too many people are trying to take bank. When you try to take bank practices and business practices into your own sketchy business, that's when shit hits the fan. Because there's no protection in your policies when you do street stuff or when you sell drugs or you have your own quote-unquote entrepreneurship business, but without actual any legal reason to call it entrepreneurship. You can't sit here because if you have a bank account, you are literally legally protected by the FDIC. You're protected if you get robbed for $250,000. Like, that's the high max. Which I'm probably going to do some deep research if you got robbed exactly $250,000 because there's people that would try to scam and like, oh my God, I got robbed $250,000. When legitimately they robbed it themselves and then hit the cash somewhere else and then they get another $250,000 from the, FDIC. But don't say that you got the idea from me because it's been done. But when you try to apply quote-unquote principles and business practices and you're already sketchy principle of a business practice, You can't sit here and try to say that, oh, the government is so fucked up. Oh, these banks are just out to fuck us. These banks are just out to screw us over. It's like, as much as it sucks in some of these cases, there's at least legal proceedings to take a place where if shit hits the fan, you could sue these people legally. And yeah, you may probably lose because they have a lot of fucking money, but they also may just settle with you, unlike Deshaun Watson, who just doesn't want to settle. Which, by the way, came out that apparently he had up to 66 met up with over 66 women over his 17th month span. Basically, a woman a week for this massage type of thing going on. I haven't even gotten like 66 ideas for a massage. Like, I gotta give the dude credit. The dude has a high, I don't know if you've ever gotten a massage, but like just the idea of getting one every week is like so, like getting one is just like annoying. Like you have a person touching your body, your back, your upper blade, your lower back, your legs. See, I can handle the back. Like I actually kind of feel like that. I have sensitive shoulders, and like I'm like a little kid when they're getting tickled in the armpit. Oh my god, stop it! But when it starts getting to the legs, the calf, and the thigh, I get really just like, I start like squeezing my hand and shit. I start like, like it's not just, it's like a spike and like, it's just like tense. Maybe I just have weird legs. Like I do have like veins in my legs and shit like that. So it's a little different. But when you get, and I understand like it's his profession and shit like that. But I just want to know, like, I don't care what I do. I'm not getting a massage a fucking week. That's a whole, you got to plan it out. You got to lay on a table. Now in this case, I mean, I don't know. Maybe if I was getting these type of massages, I could handle one a week. Because it'd just be a couple minutes of touching my, interior tilt above my cheek. And then next thing you know, I turn around and now it's hers. Sorry, had to do it. But why do that when you could just go to Asian massage number 6? Oh, that's stereotyping. Oh my God. It's like, it's not stereotyping if it's like 90% of the places. And I literally saw there's this place that I pass by if I go a certain way to one of the gyms I go to. Yes, I said one of the gyms I go to. And it's literally called Asian Massage number 4. All right. They don't even try to like, look, it's like, hey, like, you never see Polish massage number 3. You never see Caucasian. Because you know what? No one would go to Caucasian number 2. There's no evidence that anyone Caucasian knows how to touch a body correctly. Okay. Now, I don't know. Maybe if they had a ebony massage number 7, maybe my type of thing. Kidding. Not really. There'd be a line out that door. You see, you want to show true, collaboration. That's where it's at. Or it's just called fetishizing. I don't know. But anyways, this man Deshaun, there's a part of me, the fact that this dude could handle a very deep, intense massage every week is kind of mind-blowing. No pun intended, because there was a lot of minds being blown. Okay. But apparently now the Texans were orchestrating this shit. Where I think now there's a reason why they're like, you know what, Deshaun, you could sit out and we'll pay you. Because if they had no wrongdoing in the situation, or I shouldn't even say wrongdoing, but if they had no type of collateral damage to their business and their image, I don't see why they would have just let someone sit out and pay them 30, 40 million or whatever he was getting paid. He was getting paid his full salary not to play. And they were on board with it. And something about that should have put a red signal. It's not just like, hey, you know what? I mean, dude, NFL teams will go to great lengths to not pay someone 3 or 4 million when they sit out voluntarily or when they agree to sit out. Like, they will find ways. Let's come to a deal and agreement to, work for you, work for me. We'll trade you. We'll give this money here, that money there, but you have to cut the. They're just like, you know what, Deshaun, you can have it. Just sit out and don't say a damn thing. And the fact that now it kind of makes sense why they went that route. Because a lot of teams have been like, we're not paying someone 30, 40 million who is not going to play when they're healthy just because they don't want to play. Like, no, you're going to forfeit that money or whatever the hell. And they're just like, nah, we're cool. Well, we'll work with you. And now that all this stuff's coming out that, hey, they arranged the hotel. They had a security guy who just has NDAs just coming out of the back pocket like it's a grocery list from the wife. Like, here you go. Ah, Jesus. Milk again. Ah, Jesus. And, I mean, I don't know what a non-disclosure agreement looks like because I've never really had to do one. I don't have those type of problems. And I understand why people of stature have to do it because, even if I think a great example I heard was when you, like a lot of celebrities and athletes, they have maids. They have people that clean the houses and stuff like that. And they pay them pretty well and stuff because, they're gone for months and months out of the year. Maybe they have babysitter for wife and kids and stuff like that. And it's just like, hey, it's a small price really to keep the house in order and shit like that. Make sure things are up to date. So, but they make them typically sign like a non-disclosure agreement, even if they're not doing sketchy shit. Just for the simple fact of like, hey, just like, shit can happen. Let's not, like, if something happens, shut the fuck up, essentially, is what they're trying to do. And it just makes everything where it protects them from being sued and shit like that. And even if they do, it has to be private. And it just makes everything a little bit more easier. And I get it. Even when you don't have sketchy shit going on. I get why people would do that. There's so much money. People can sue you for the most trivial shit. And it's easier to settle. And Deshaun Watson's like, nah. All that money I got last year is from not doing anything. Is literally just because I'm going to fight all of these bitches in court. But it's really hard from even the most objective of people to just look at the pure raw number. Raw. I'm going to say that's a fair use of this one. I guess the stroking was barely poking in the Texan sheets. Okay. It's about Texan pride, baby. Houston, we have 66 problems. I got 66 problems, and if you inverse that, that's 99. And bitches are all of them in this case. But really, Deshaun Watson is, I don't care how objective. It's funny how all the people that were so like, we'll wait for this and that, all this stuff to play out. Well, it's playing out. And it's not working out for the people that want to play out. It's funny, and that's people's always first instinct. I'm going to let the legal proceedings take and play this out. And you should. But, sometimes the problem with that is that when you let stuff play out, and that's one of the worst parts about when you get accused of something, go to court and criminal, even though it's technically not criminal, which I don't know if it's sexual, it's not assault. And that's the thing. Criminal isn't always like murder. It could just be you commit an act that's criminal intentions, which in this case is not technically criminal. But it's sexual grooming. Well, not grooming because they're grown adults. Grooming is more of when you groom like a very young adolescent teenager. When you're 39 years old and you groom a 16-year-old to, be your whore. That's more of grooming. Talk about the slapstick ruler on them cheeks, and maybe this one failed to measure up in Deshaun's head. it's crazy how when you think of Deshaun, though, he used to be the clean-cut image of, like, community, of giving back to community, growing up humbly, come from very humble beginnings and all this stuff, and was Mr. This is what you want the face of the franchise. It's just crazy how all this has turned. And I think it goes to show that even the most, he's giving, all right. He's giving out those DMs to come. It's and I think it goes to show that you just when you think you know a guy, you don't know a guy. And that I shouldn't put every single person who's deemed to be a perfect embodiment of a person or image that has extreme problems, but I really do believe everyone has something that is just, if it gets out of hand and if given the power to be able to do something, it's going to get out of hand. And this one, his dick got into a lot of hands. All right, I know it's not fun to make fun of, but hey, you know what? I also do, the raw number of 66 women. They're not all suing. And I honestly think most of the women that aren't suing, I honestly think they were okay with it. Like, they agreed to, they agreed the territory of what this was. And it's technically, the thing that's kind of weird about this is it kind of opens up, the Robert Kraft thing was like the only difference between Robert Kraft and Deshaun Watson is that Robert Kraft is an old-ass man. So it makes sense to why this 70-year-old dude with all this money in the world goes to these secret establishments and have this stuff. And he has a shitload of money where it doesn't even matter. And it makes sense for old-ass man to just go these places and get one off. Because realistically, that's how it's going to happen for him these days. For Deshaun, like, you don't need to pay to get all this. Like, you're fucking Deshaun Watson. You could have just flew a bitch out there just to fuck. And not have to go through the process of, hey, it's a massage. And then, you know what happens 28 minutes to massage. I have the timer. You know what happens when you tell me to turn around. The towels come off. And, this one's stiffer than a 13-year-old sock after the first time they watch Annalisa get pounded by gin. It's make it Murphy. Jesus. I don't know. It's just weird to see. And that's the thing about, you gotta be careful when and I think this is one of the reasons why it makes sense for people just to settle. But the problem is when you settle, it sets a precedent that you admit to some type of wrongdoing and you just kind of pay out to keep the inconvenience. But the problem is when you don't settle, more of the shit is gonna come out, and that's going to come out in ways that make you look even worse than you already do when you're the person being accused. And I think this opens the eyes that you got to make a decision when you decide. You got to make sure you pick a road and go down it. You can't, because he can't, like, 4 months from now all of a sudden, like, all right, I'll settle with all you, because already all the bad information is going to be out there about you. People already made their harsh judgments, and whether people want to admit that matters or not, it's gonna matter. And even if he settles with all the women, it's like, all right, he settles with all the women, he can afford it, but his name will always kind of be attached to this weird escapade of a mass that signals to a probably bigger issue with him. That's more of a personal thing that he has to figure out. But I think also the funny part is he had a girlfriend through all this. And props to her for, as the kids say, being a real one, for sticking through his hard times that he put on himself. And he was sticking something through hard times. Actually, more of a soft spot. But yeah, talk about going under center. Even though he's actually predominantly in shotgun. Talk about a shotgun wedding. All right, but yeah, we're gonna move on from that topic. Yeah. Take it. The drink of the day is mocha. But yeah, wait, recording this at 2:10 p.m. Friday, June 10th of 2022. This is the first episode past the 1 year anniversary, so this is gonna be the first episode of the second year. So by the end of this time next year, should be at 300 episodes. Jesus Christ, that's a daunting task to even think of. Jesus. But Peter Piper picked a pickled pepper. And I still don't know what a pickled pepper is. But it doesn't sound like it's a pickling in this deal. Alright. I know I've used that before. But yeah, you know what someone told me yesterday. Hey Clint, you should really go be a comedian. You're really actually funny. And I said, haven't you ever heard not to inflate a man's ego? And as a man himself, he nodded his head. It's like, yeah. But as men, that's what we need to do more of. Because in the world we live in, there's always, especially towards men, and it always seems it seems like people try to get a high off of humbling us or bogging us down or making us feel less than quote unquote the patriarchy that we benefit from. Which, it's funny how all the things that we benefit from, all it does is actually equal that there's an expectation for us to have to meet. And if we don't make those expectations, you really ain't shit. And that's why there's a 10% to 20% of guys that fuck 80% of the girls. Because you either meet the expectation or you don't. And if you don't, there's a sea of unfucked pussy that's just not for you. And I think that's when you get the weird 45-year-old dudes that are fucking 18-year-old girls because they don't know any better, personally. But and I think, and it kind of made me think a little bit, and I've kind of talked about it before. As you definitely tell, I don't prepare for this podcast. That's why I'm kind of talking out loud. Oh, honey, now. Ed Sheeran. Okay. But, I think people need when we have this men versus woman type of dynamic that's posterized online and stuff. I think people gotta remember that like a lot of that shit isn't real. Like, it's real. It happens, the extreme situations you see. But it's not actually real in, like, everyday interactions. Like, most people are actually pretty normal towards each other. I really don't think that a lot of women hate men. And I don't think a lot of men hate women. I think just the few that stand out, it just really stands out. And they try to paint everyone in this box because of their failures to develop as a person. And it's easier to blame things than to actually do things yourself to better yourself, to make yourself more of an attractive mate, or we're just more of an attractive person that people want to be around in general. And when you have the ones that stick out so bad and that's all that keeps getting pushed onto people. It becomes what they see. It becomes a characterization of what they think of everything associated with this type of person. In a lot of cases, people simplify everything from gender. Like, to simplify someone to gender, when there's only two or more, I guess, these days. But to simplify someone to gender, to say, if you see, let's just say, a blonde white guy like me, right? You see this blonde white guy at the park, right? And you see him go up to a woman from behind and just spanks her in the ass and say, "Woo, baby. You trying to let me get that?" And then he just walks by, turns around with all... And it's a strange girl that was not expecting anyone to slap her ass while she's staring down at her phone, not paying attention. And she is visibly frustrated. And is taken back and shocked because she did not like what happened. Because it was not even an attractive guy. Now, if he was attractive to her, probably like, "Hey, you're cute." But no, that's let's just say that's not what happened. If you were a spectator, you would see like, wow, men of that age range that look like this, that are this height, this type of fitness level, you're going to associate every guy that kind of compares in that realm of what this person embodies. And you're going to assume that a lot of guys have that type of mentality and entitlement that they feel they can do that. And obviously that's just not that true. And I think when we talk about this men versus women paradigm, is that there is a lot of switches. There is a lot of shift. I should say a lot of shift in how men and women operate towards each other these days. And there's a lot of fear. And I think when there's a lot of fear to even approach the opposite sex on either side, because you could be you're afraid of how it may be. Because there is no respectful rejection these days. Everything, it's like, if someone rejects you, people take this weird pride thing. They post to social media about it, or they make a scene about it. Like, you think, and all it does is discourage people, right? Now, I would say, if a guy gets discouraged from approaching a girl, and a weird instance happens when he did nothing wrong, but she was just kind of a bitch about it, then you know what? If you let that one situation frazzle your ego and shit like that, that's kind of a you problem. That's something you gotta work through. And I forgot what started this whole thing. Oh. But I really think in real life, in everyday life interaction, when you go to a public place and stuff, I really think that actually most men and women like the traditional stuff that we think men and women operate on. I still think that's actually what people operate on. Because I actually see what guys respond to and what girls respond to in a comfortable setting, whether it's private or public. You actually see what people respond to, not necessarily what they say. And a lot of the stuff that, be confident, be approachable, be respectable, but, be genuine in a way. Like, the shit typically translates. And there's always going to be the ones that, like, you got to do X, Y, and Z. It's like, most people are pretty, like, mostly open and let people interpret their version of how to, spit game. I'm a prime example of that. Is that there's this just saturation of every guy sounding the same when they spit game. But then when I do it, it's like, whoa, hey there. Hey. I'm like, hey baby, girls sing. I'm a fool. I'm a nut job. And boy, I got a lot of nuts for the job. Me and Deshaun. Oh, Jesus. Just Southern boys. Just southern boys waiting for those Miami hoe touches. I fly you out or fly you in. Is it fly you out or fly you in? Because if I'm flying you into me, quite literally, if I fly you out but you're flying to me, I'm technically flying you in. Flying you out would be getting your ass back out after you leave. Sorry, Mr. Technical here. Thought about flying coach. I'm the coach, you just a player on the field. Yeah, I don't know. I just think, the more and more like you disconnect from the online stuff, even on YouTube and stuff like that, but more you disconnect and actually just observe what you see in places you go and stuff, you realize that this whole online thing is partially, I shouldn't say mostly, but I would say it's halfway kind of created from what I'm trying to think of a way. It's halfway kind of created not necessarily from truth, but mostly. I ever heard that if you let something sit in your head for years and years, you'll start embellishing in the truth. It's kind of like when you'll tell a situation that happened in 8th grade, or not 8th grade, but when you're 8 years old, and then you're like 20 and you're telling the story, and your mom's like, that's not really what happened. I was there. But when it's you in the story, you view it differently. It's not an outside point of view. But when a third party observes the story, they actually have a more recollection of the situation, what happened. And I think when you're too into something, people use their personal experience to bitch and complain and talk about unidealism. And I think when you're talking about men and women, it's nothing but unidealism. Because what everyone kind of wants and what they say they want are not always the same. And ideally, you would just want what someone says to be what they actually want. But reality is, people don't want to have to tell you what they want. They want you to be able to kind of figure that out. But it's not my job to babysit you type of shit either. It kind of takes the natural connection out if I'm just telling you. Otherwise, what makes you different from someone else? Because I could tell someone else what I want. I could tell someone else who I am. I could tell someone else what I like and what I don't like. There should be things just as humans that we connect naturally that you pick up on. And I think that's where the real disconnect is. People just want everything to be typed out for them, literally in text. Everyone just wants stuff laid out like it's a rubric, like it's an answer key. People are not answer keys. Like, this isn't the answer key that you grab off your teacher's desk for the final week before that they accidentally leave out so you can all pass the class so you all don't have to repeat it. And then you try to write all the answers down on a piece of paper, and then you get the fucking test, and it's not anything. That's basically what expectations are between men and women these days. People will tell you what they want verbatim, but people don't necessarily know what they want. And I think that really frustrates people. I think that really frustrates the divide in what you actually see online, because online it shows the worst parts of everyone involved. It shows the bitchiness parts of men, and it shows the absolute worst maniacal, quote unquote, they call it savvy. I call it being deceptive, but whatever. They call it game. I call it being a complete cunt, actually. And it shows the worst parts of everyone. And I don't know when it's gotten progressively worse. And I think, but if you view that shit all the time, you're going to embody that because you're going to think this is how you have to survive. And we're just here for survival. We're here to mate. We're here to find people to drop a baby in. And if we got to do what we got to do and lie and be a certain type of person, because that's what you're going to reward me with, then you're damn right. I'm going to be exactly everything that you actually react well to. And I just wonder, and I guess I just wonder, will it ever, are we just assuming that the way the dynamic is between guys and girls now, are we assuming that it's actually bad that it's changed to what it is? Because sometimes we'll romanticize the old days and how, oh, back in the day you had to ask, you had to put a rose on her hand for a chivalrous manner. You had to ask to go steady, whatever the fuck going steady means. I don't even know what going steady means. Like, that's one of those 1940s before you go to fucking war. Hey, I got drafted. Let's get married. But we haven't gone steady yet. Like, shit, we have to go steady for months. Oh, shit. But then it's the same people that, like, we met, we went on 2 dates, and then we got married. So I don't know what going steady is. But whatever. Some people get married after two weeks. Some people get married after 8 years. I don't know. Shit don't make sense. But let me tell you, love do cost a thing. Don't let anyone tell you different. Right, J-Lo? Because you're talking about, I'm real. Yeah, well, if you were so real, you have not lied to yourself and married Ben Affleck or been with Ben Affleck after you did Jiggly or, what is it called? Jiggly or Honey, that terrible ass movie. And then you left him, you left each other. Then you married a guy, a 5'5" opera-looking singer, with him for 9 or 10 years, had kids and stuff, and then you're like, actually, I want to be with this guy the whole time. Sorry. So I guess love do cost a thing, because you know what? It costs you a lot of kids. You had a lot of kids with that guy, that short 5'5" singer, who's with like a Colombian version of NSYNC. And he was not the JT of the group. But it's this. I would just advise people that this online thing, that it's cool to be a certain type of guy and a certain type of girl. You don't actually have to be. You can just be the type of guy that you envision. Because let me tell you what people are really attracted to. People are attracted to others who lead with themselves. Regardless if you're right or wrong. Having conviction and being wrong actually is better than trying to infiltrate that you're getting something right by being open-minded. I know it sounds weird to say being open-minded is kind of like a sign of weakness, but having conviction and going in one direction, I'm not talking about having a hairy style. Let that Zayn in your Malik. Okay. Liam is in so much pain. Okay. Enough. But guess you got that one thing, and it's called balls. Ever heard the term that if you have, for NFL, for football, on the offensive line, if you have all 5 guys on the offensive line, if all of them do the wrong thing on a play, the play will work. If one person does what they're not supposed to and does the wrong thing, it's all fucked up. When all 5 guys do the same thing that they're supposed to do, right or wrong technically, the play will more times than not work. When 1 or 2 people do the wrong thing, it fucks up everything. Because 3 people got it right and 2 didn't. So that's a disconnect in what they needed to do. Where there's a disconnect with the individual of their direction. Now I'm speaking as guys, as men. If you don't embody the type of leadership qualities that you bitch about, that you feel a woman should submit to, you really need to figure out the direction you have in your life. You really need to figure out what Here's the thing that guys of today forget about these old traditional stuff they want to refer to. Yes, women did submit to men back in the day. Yes. But also, when guys asked a woman to marry him, he took that with such seriousness and he took it with such intent that, yes, I'm asking you to submit to me, but that's because I am going to protect you at all costs and actually take care of you, and more than just financial and monetary and basic shit. It means I am asking you to basically uproot and change your life to trust me. And people just marry out of quote unquote love. And I don't want to say that you don't marry out of love, because there has to be love there. But you can't marry someone just because you have feelings and love them. And too many guys are bitches about that shit. Don't realize that, hey, you want all these benefits of having a woman submitting to you and all this shit. Cool. But you got to have the qualities and characteristics and actually have proof that they're not just blindly falling into your lap because when I'm next to you at night, my heart beats to your heart. We're one and for all, forever after all. It's like, nah, man. Go cut the yard, you piece of shit. Most guys don't even know how to fucking crank a lawnmower. There's this thing that guys aren't even. There's a natural when someone respects you as an individual, and this kind of goes on both sides. When someone respects you as an individual, the love isn't even questioned. That's why when you always hear those couples say, I love you, baby, I love you. It's like, one, it's cringy and it's so annoying because it's almost like, do you even believe it? Because I sure as hell don't believe it. Because something as simple as love isn't always verbal. It's how you treat each other without actually saying why or how or what I'm doing to show you I love you. I know this isn't the love pod. I'm not trying to be a love line here, but I think it goes to say when you see the dynamic between men and women being deceptive and fucking each other over, and men are victims and women are this and all this shit, like, there's truth to it because the shit happens. But honestly, a lot of the people that it happens to are people that, if you were objectively look at who they are, how they talk, and how they dealt with this situation that was fucked up, it kind of explains a lot why this situation would occur. Because of a person with true definition of conviction in their life and stuff like that, it's not that shit like this couldn't happen, but it's very, very unlikely. Because they wouldn't have put themselves in a situation with someone like that to begin with. And there was probably a lot of things they justified and let happen that let it get to that point. And I don't know. It's I'm kind of worried when I see a lot of this stuff, because if I were to go on a date, I would I would have to worry in the back of my head, is like, is this other person, are like, when they look at, like, what are their true intentions, kind of thing. And you should kind of have that. It's like you almost can't even go and be free and live freely without some type of reparations of your own self, because you're putting a lot on the line. And you gotta wonder, is this other person, are they viewing me as whatever characterization they have seen or characterized already based off stuff they see on social media and stuff and media? are they already putting me in this box? Are they already putting me a few notches below? And I got to prove something that I didn't do nothing that I had to prove to begin with. Like, that's stuff that, you kind of have to think about at least. But yeah, I don't know. It's a fascinating thing. It's something I'm curious about. I'm a curious Georgie. Oh, Georgie. Because this podcast ain't it. Jesus. Put this one in the sewer. Because, boy, I'm getting ready to sewer in return. All right, Deshaun. All right. And this is not the happiest ending to a podcast ever. Okay, Clint. And that is episode 151. Cutting this pod a little short at 50 minutes because I got to fucking eat. Gotta eat before work and shit. But yeah, anyways, that's episode 151 of the podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, comment, subscribe, all that good shit. Suck some titties. And don't forget, there's always an Asian massage numero 9. Now I think it's almost like Asian massages in these Asian Express dollar scoop places. I feel like they could collaborate, do like a 2-in-1 type of place. Just a thought. I don't know. We have split Taco Bells and KFCs, Long John Silver's and Taco Bell. Yeah, you notice how all these split dual places are always Taco Bell included. Sounds like a weird business model. But anyways. But yeah, just a thought. All right, guys. Have a great day whenever this is posted.